So it's that time of year again when we look for elections to the at-large board members for the Drupal Association board. And Heather, you and I have been looking at how we're going to do that this year, and we thought that maybe you would like to tell us a little bit about how that works. How does the Drupal Association board work, and why do we have one?
Yeah, so boards exist because by law in the United States, they have to. So one reason we have a board is we can't have a 501c3 nonprofit status without it. And so the IRS does dictate that structure, and they also dictate some certain things we have to follow as virtue of our Form 990 submission that we do every year. But we want to think about why high-functioning boards like the DA board exist, and it's beyond the fact that we have to, and it's really, we gather people to serve on the board who give their time, talent, and treasure, really in service of our mission. And so they help drive the DA mission forward, and they serve as ultimate advocates for both the Drupal Association and for Drupal.
As we move into 2020, and we continually look at how we are helping to create that high-functioning board, we need to think about the things that we are going to change and keep moving and try new things. So we've had a very successful set of candidates to our board over the years. We've had some great board members. Suzanne Dergacheva and Leslie Glynn are currently on our board, and we're looking to replace Suzanne this year.
Yes.
So one of the things that we always like to do at the Drupal Association is continuously improve our processes, and the at-large board members elections are no exception. So we'll be looking to improve those in a number of ways. First of all, we'll be looking to improve how we make sure candidates know who we are looking for, who the board needs to continue to move on in the right way. What can you tell us about that, Heather?
Yeah, so having been somebody that's done a lot of work with boards and training with boards, and I've served on boards, so I've been a nominee for a board of directors. And so I really wanted to put that hat on and see how can we best support people that are willing to raise their hand and nominate themselves. And I think what's been really helpful to me in the past is having insight into what board service is and what the expectations are. So what I'm going to do this year is to put together a series of information so that people understand what we're talking about when we say board service, what you can expect during your 2-year term, and then information that allows you to really align your skills and your strengths with the current needs of the board so that you know that it's a good fit for you, but you also are able to see what you would bring to that table and how all of that fits together to drive the mission. And so all of that information, so all that information will live as part of the election portal. And in the event that that's not helpful enough, we'll also add opportunities to do a Q&A or a webinar with nominees. So they have the opportunity to ask their questions, and I can give my opinions and insight, and we can make sure everybody has the level of information to be the most comfortable with this process.
I love that idea. That's really going to help people feel that they're supported as part of their candidacy, which makes a big difference. Okay, so moving on. So we're looking at the candidates. We also need to look at our electorate, and we need to define who is eligible to vote.
Correct. So one of the updates to the process this year, I believe it was about a month ago, but time has been a blur for 2020, so I don't know the exact date anymore. But the board did pass a resolution to provide some clarity both around the electorate and those that are eligible to run. And it's a pretty simple standard, and it's a best practice across other nonprofit associations. And that is that you have an active membership with the Drupal Association. So that will officially go into effect for this election cycle.
That's great. It means those people who are fully engaged with us are the ones making the difference. So that's great.
Absolutely. And if anyone, I do know that we have a tough economy right now, especially with things going on in the world. So it's important to me, and it's important to our team, as you know, that if financial hardship not be a barrier. So we are going to work with anybody, both from a nominee standpoint or a potential member standpoint, that if that is the reason that you are not able to become a member at the lowest level, then we'll work with you to make sure you can do that.
That's great. That's a big deal. That's great. So I should also talk about how we will be voting, because we're going to make some improvements there too. Now, for the first time ever, we will be using a free and open source voting system called Helios Voting. And we'll have some links in the election portal that describe how that system works. It means that all of our electorate will be able to more clearly see how their votes are counted, how their votes are processed, and know that those votes and the details are extremely private to them. Only they will be able to see them, which I'm sure is important to us all. It's also a system, Helios Voting is a system used by other open source organizations, which recommended the system to us, people like the OSI, of which the Drupal Association is a member, by the way. So we'll use their system. Now, one small change there is we will use a thing called approval voting, which means that voters will simply choose from the candidates available which of those candidates they see as acceptable or not acceptable for the role. So it's a slightly different system to instant runoff voting as used in the past. But because it's a simplified system, it also means that the user experience of actually voting is a lot simpler. And we have, for several years now, received feedback saying that the forms previously used were complex, difficult to understand, and so on. And we definitely see the user experience, whether people understand how they're voting, is really important. People have to be able to understand how their vote is used. Otherwise, it's not fair. Simple as that. So I think moving on from there, the next question is, when do we begin?
Soon. So we will open all of this up on August 7th. And what I mean by all of this is the first step is the call for nominees. So if you are interested in running for this board for a 2-year term starting November 1st of this year is when the term starts. So if you're interested, on August 7th, we'll have everything up and available for you. You can start to begin that process. And then Rachel, I know that we have several steps past that as well.
Yeah, all the steps will be laid out on the election portal that we'll be adding to the Drupal Association section of Drupal.org. And I think it's fair to say that we will be putting out a fair bit of social media, emails, etc., making sure that everyone knows exactly what's going on. But we thought this video would make a nice start.
Absolutely. And I think the most important message we want to share is if you're interested in running for board service and you feel called to that being part of your volunteer contribution to Drupal, please do so. Take a look at what we are talking about for board objectives and see how your desire to give back to Drupal and give back to the Drupal Association aligns with that, and raise your hand. And I know that sometimes it's scary to nominate yourself for something, but I hope everybody feels encouraged, because we want the most, we want the most diverse candidate pool that we can possibly have. And that requires a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds and talents and skills to raise their hand and join us for this.
Also, you don't have to commit without having spoken to us. So if you want to chat about any of this, if you're interested but don't want to press a button until you've spoken to someone, we are both happy, very, very happy to speak with you and to help you think if it's the right thing for you.
Absolutely. And the other piece we want to encourage is if you're a member and you're part of this membership volunteer body, then we want you to vote. So you use your vote, make sure you vote. We want to have every member possible get to share their opinion.
I'd love to see every single member vote. That would make my day. Thank you very much, Heather. That was really great.
Thank you. I'm excited about opening this up and seeing who says yes and where we go. So thank you, DA membership and community, and we will open everything August 7th.